Hello everyone and welcome to the Playing Lean webinar. Today we continue with business modeling and we're going to cover how to go from theory to practice, and we will also share more information on our upcoming business modeling facilitator training. We'll have a Q&A at the end where we will answer the questions we received through our newsletter survey. And there were also some questions asked last webinar we didn't forget. And you can also leave your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we will cover them either today or in our next webinar. I'm going to hand it over to our speakers today, Simen and Bruno.
Perfect. So as Dora said, today we will focus on business modeling, going from theory to practice. Before I jump in, I'll just share a little bit about Simen and myself so that you can become aware of our biases and kind of what are our comments based on. So Simen is currently serving as a CPO of a scale-up called Otovo, and they are attempting to disrupt the worldwide energy market. Prior to that, he started a successful consulting company, and he also was, the maker of your favorite board game, Playing Lean. For myself, I'm coming with the engineering background. I used to design battle tanks, weapon system, freight trains, and whatnot. Innovated, invented, failed, succeeded, then started a little bit in financial industry as well. Now I'm waiting to go into tobacco, so I can say that I truly sold all parts of my soul. Sorry, I have to laugh at my own joke. Now, the core of this webinar is discussion about going from theory to practice. And what is really important for that is to understand actually the framing around it. So what we were talking about, and whenever we are thinking about playing lean, what do we stand for, who do we want to help, what we really crystallize is that we're focusing on who we call innovation heroes. Basically, different people attempting to get more successful with innovation, either in existing organizations or working with people. So we talk about three innovation heroes that we truly want to help, and kind of they frame and they guide us in how we approach everything else, products, services, and whatnot. So one of them is who we usually call the entrepreneur. And here we see two different types. So one is the innovator, usually within the organization, who is trying to bring to life some ideas, some products, some services. And then we have other entrepreneur, the innovation manager, who is actually trying, to get funding, to make sure that the organization has a good portfolio of products and ideas, who is trying to help these innovators to actually have a successful career and that they stand a chance at actually doing something meaningful. Then the second archetype that we are focusing on is the innovation coach. That's usually the independent or part of some boutique consultancy who is helping his or her clients become more successful with different innovation tactics, techniques, methods, and similar tools. And the third one is who we broadly call the innovation educator. So kind of all the people either in educational institutions like universities, high schools, colleges, or those that are teachers but not in the coaching role. So for them to add them something more, to have more engaging and entertaining sessions. So when we talk about going from theory to practice regarding business modeling, we will be discussing that in the context of teaching business modeling. So that's very important for seeing how the rest of this webinar will go. As Dora mentioned, we will take questions, and we expect that in roughly 25 minutes. So the number one mistake that we have observed and is also backed by research is that people that know a lot and are eager to transfer that, they often commit what's called cognitive murder. In plain English, you don't need to teach everything you know at once. And just because we're passionate, and I'm confident that everyone in this call and everyone who's going to watch this recording anytime has committed this at least once, because we are passionate and we want to transfer that knowledge. We want to help someone immediately, and then we because the more we know, the more holes and improvements we can see. But if the recipient is not open for that, it's all for naught. We might actually get the opposite effect where the person will learn even less because we attempted to share more. So that is why it is our responsibility, your responsibility when teaching, when coaching, when transferring knowledge, to be in control and to be in command of the learning journey. So I use this picture deliberately. And there is, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. These ones are symbolic, but there is a zero, and zero is the frame around the picture. So that is where you need to begin with to be more successful when running workshops, when coaching, I want to say when teaching, because I'm expecting that professors know that. Also, although when I'm thinking back to my university and high school days, some could definitely be better at pedagogy. Pedagogy. So
Don't name names.
no, no, no names, no names. So this frame is important. That's where you start, and then taking small steps. So what's critical from moving from theory to practice is actually what you could call dog feeding or dog fooding. It's kind of small bites over the time, because no matter how much food you give to the dog, he'll just eat everything and get sick. Oh, the same is, well, hopefully no human will eat until they're sick and they die from it, hopefully. But you can think in the same way. So kind of to frame this, to go from business modeling from theory to practice, it is important to pace it correctly, to be in control of the learning journey. And what we have found that repeatedly works, and kind of we put it together, and I'm confident that other professionals who have been doing similar things found similar ways to do it, because that is just a validation that this works. And what we found is, like, when it comes to theory, it has to be the basic minimum theoretical underpinnings. And it's very, very easy with business modeling to go way too far, because there is overlap with the business design body of knowledge, which is quite massive. And it's very easy then to go and start going into, okay, operating model design, strategy design, service model design, experiment design. You can suddenly start branching in many different fields, but it doesn't matter. Not today, not in this workshop, not in this session, not in this hour. And that is something that you're in control of. You control the learning journey. So kind of, let's say step number one is the bare minimum introduction to the business modeling. And when I'm saying bare minimum, we are thinking a sentence, a video, not more than 5 minutes in total of the whole introduction. Because what you really want is get to the practical as soon as possible, but not over jump. So I've been training martial arts for more than 20 years now, and I've been instructor for 5 years, I think. I'm not quite sure. And what is really challenging is kind of, imagine this. So you come to my dojo and I show you how to throw. I just grab someone and I throw it, and I tell you, go throw, and walk away. I don't think you would feel very comfortable with such teaching style unless you naturally have higher testosterone or are more aggressive. And you also probably wouldn't be able to do it except on brute force, because you actually haven't learned anything. And something similar is here. So jumping straight into using the tool can backfire massively. So the question here is, okay, what is the step that you can take before that that's not gimmicky, that actually builds real expertise, and that's engaging? And that is, Simen will talk a little bit more about it, but that is the step number two, is giving a practical exercise that doesn't take long and that builds real expertise with the actual tool. So this is what at least we have seen works the best, is some sort of a sticker exercise where that's actually interactive and that people can do in 5 minutes. At least we usually do it in 5 minutes. And then you start building. Then it comes closer and closer. Okay, now let's use the tools to actually map and describe business ideas. Then let's have feedback. Then let's see how we build on that. Let's continue the feedback loop. And then let's close it. Let's close and have reflection. Reflection is extremely powerful. There is even in, I will use Japan again as example. So in Japan, there is something called Hansei, and Hansei is translated to English to reflection, but it means much, much more than that. So it's kind of you're deeply reflecting both when things go right and when things don't go right, and you're trying to understand why is reality different from your expectations. So kind of that really builds both the character but also the practical and theoretical understanding. So that is kind of how we think about the whole learning journey, and as I said before, we and you are in charge of that when working with people. Now, what I want to transfer to is actually how did we embody this? How did we take this knowledge and thinking, and what were kind of the design principles when we were building up and testing the business modeling facilitator training? Simen, can you hit me up with that?
I sure can. I think the cognitive murder reminds me about, I think this must have been towards the end of the 90s. And my mother asked my father how to send an email. And he started out by explaining her how a processor works. And, after 2 or 3 minutes, she gave up, told him to stop, and, delayed the whole internet thing for 5 years, right? So that's cognitive murder in action. So let's kind of continue with the design principles here. Bruno's been touching a bit up on it, right? And we think it's 4 parts to these principles for our kind of design of the business modeling facilitator training. And the first is kind of focusing on the essential, and then focusing on the practical, then focusing on the execution, and focusing on your adaptability. Okay? So to us, focusing on the essential is giving you a little bit of a background. What is a business model? Why do we do business modeling? And why is business model innovation important? And we give you a little bit of background and also cues for kind of further reading, because there's nothing wrong in learning how a processor works, right? So if you want to kind of continue down this path, kind of press pause, read up, and continue. I think that's fair. And then we want to start going into the tools, and it's important to give you a good insight into the tools, kind of more than the theoretical background, because I think others do a good job of teaching business modeling. So you need to have a certain understanding or build a certain understanding of that. But the tools, business model canvas and lean canvas, we go through them and explain what you need to kind of use them to choose which one, and we compare them so you can kind of pick the right tool for the right context. And this is important. And then we go over to the practical. And for the practical, as Bruno said, you want to kind of go into a case study as fast as possible. Give a little bit of context, then go into kind of action mode. People learn a lot more when they're in an action mode, and that's of course the design principle for Playing Lean, the board game as well. Give a little bit of introduction and then into action mode. It makes people remember a lot better. And we picked Airbnb, and we're using that as a case study. So, and we think that's a strength. We're going deep into one case. It's a familiar case, so we all know it. There's no need to kind of introduce it and spend a long time telling people what the Airbnb is. And then we use both the business model canvas and the lean canvas to map out Airbnb's business model. And in this, you get a comparison where you can kind of easily choose which one is the best. This is not something that we're proposing that you do with your participants, but it's an exercise we do with you and for you, so that you can kind of pick and choose here. And of course, afterwards we reflect. I don't want to go into the Japanese, but and compare. So what are kind of the differences? How do we kind of see this? You want to take over from here, Bruno?
Yep. So we have essential, we have practical, and then a third pillar is execution, because we have now trained more than 200 Playing Lean facilitators and game masters and whatnot. And what we repeatedly hear, observe, and discover, and it's repeatedly confirmed, is that you don't care about anything except execution. which is perfectly fine. That's what makes us different than from all the other wannabes and sellers of, we would say in Croatian, magla or fog. So again, we said this is what makes us successful. This is what makes you successful. We want to make sure this is built for execution. What does that mean in practice? Is just like we did with Playing Lean, the same logic is here. All the templates, all the tools available immediately for your complete use, reuse, reorganization. You can use them as they are immediately today, or you can change them however you want. Because when we looked at both what we were happy and unhappy with and what others were happy and unhappy with, it's usually the materials that are pretty basic are coming with some crazy licenses, which actually, if you read them, you realize it's like, how can I use this? It's like impossible. It's so prohibitive that basically if I use it even for myself, I could be held accountable or liable. So this is execution friendly stuff, and it goes into details just like we are doing with Playing Lean. It's through all the execution material. That means the workshop slides and the workshop steps. We go with our commentary, and it comes in two flavors, since it's focusing on two popular tools that we also discussed before, the business model canvas and the lean canvas. And what's really important, and comes, if you remember, the cognitive murder part, maybe we just spoke about it 10-12 minutes ago and Simen repeated. Just kidding. It's we wanted to really focus on flexibility and adaptability. Imagine Lego blocks. So if you have a Lego block, you can use it to create whatever, from cathedral to spaceship to a barrack to nothing, if you feel like that. So the same logic is here. So that means that we really went into and identified all the different leads and tracks that you can go. Obviously, we cover how you can integrate it with Playing Lean workshop, but also how can you actually expand it? How can you add on? How can you integrate it with your existing services, with your existing portfolio of products, training offerings, coaching services, or if you're in education institution or you run corporate HR training, how can you combine it with your existing curriculum? So it's all those details, because that is what we really value. Like, give me something that's adaptable, pliable, that I can use and change and just go and be more successful with. So keeping it really basic, primal, and reusable. So that were the 4 design principles that we're following throughout the design of the whole training, based on what we told before, the whole learning journey, and trying to avoid the cognitive murder. And of course, unfortunately, this topic is very popular these days because of the world situation. So yes, of course, we cover that as well. Yes, of course, we comment on that as well. And actually, Simen wrote a really good blog post on that. And here, Simen, you can just give us a brief summary so that we can go to Q&A, because there's been a lot of questions sent in.
Yes, exactly. So it's important for us that what we teach now can be delivered remote. That was important before, and obviously it's even more important now. And we want to give you the background and the tools you need to deliver this remote easily. And of course, some of this is just generic good advice, right? So you're maybe used to delivering something like this live in person, and of course you have to adjust and adapt, right? And what we see as a generic advice is that we need to put more thought into preparation, right? So I know, just speaking for myself, if I have a group of participants and I'm there and I'm present and we can easily communicate and give messages, it's easier to wing it, right? But my experience is that when you have something that's remote, you need to plan it out in more detail and provide more information beforehand and really plan it out more. So you have to adjust how you deliver, and we're going to give some more tips on that. And then finding your good video conference tool, right? What's your preferred way? We're using Zoom here now. Has some advantages, and you can, if you you pay for a certain upgrade, you can do breakout rooms and such with kind of less organizing. But of course, if you put some investments into this, you can also use Google Hangouts Meet or Whereby or kind of other tools. It's just being familiar with the tool and preparing, right? So I did a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted teams to work in different rooms. So I set everything up beforehand. I gave set up meeting rooms where people should go at what time and plan it all out, and it worked kind of seamlessly. So that's something that's good. And then, of course, you need to have invest in your equipment. So you're going to speak to a lot of people. So maybe not use the kind of laptop microphone, but upgrade, right? It doesn't cost so much. Maybe for 50 euros, you can have a better microphone. If you're addressing, tens, hundreds of people eventually, that will have paid back in kind of improved quality for everyone in a short time. And being what it is, you also need to figure out and get comfortable with at least one digital whiteboard tool, right? And there are a few options out there now. I don't think there's any kind of clear winner. I've been investigating this a little bit, but you have tools like Miro and Mural. They cover pretty much the same. You can kind of choose which one you want, and we'll help you set this up so that you can do the exercises in a nice way. And you can also use Google Jamboard, which is free if you have a Google account, and use this to organize kind of the whiteboard session, because these are canvases, and of course you're not going to put anything up on a physical proper whiteboard, and we will give you the kind of the logistics you need to get organized here.
And it's kind of, you touched upon it a little bit in the beginning, kind of the generic thing, and again here there are some mistakes that can kind of ruin you before you even attempt to do it. And one is the assumption that everybody who is going to participate in your workshop actually will know how to use this, and that makes it a bit tricky, because even if you ask, and I had a situation like that where a facilitator came to me and said, like, Bruno, this went like really bad. I sent the email out in advance. Everybody said that yes, they know how to use it. And then I had a follow-up because it didn't went well. And I told that person, well, I asked, yeah, but they said yes, because what else are you going to answer? Most people think they know how to use it. They think, how difficult can it be? I just click sign in and then I click that and I do it. Yeah. Yes, but you don't want to waste time in such workshops, because when we are doing full day workshops or even 4-hour workshops in person, they're much easier to take. But if you try to do 4-hour workshop or full day workshop remotely, the attention and human behavior works very differently. Yeah, so kind of it really pays off to make sure that people know how to use the technology in advance, even if you just have a 5-minute call or 5-minute whatever teleconferencing software you will use, just 5 minutes with everybody, or train someone to have it, yeah. Your assistant or whatever. It really pays off, because you can save a lot of frustration. I mean, we know when we're doing physical workshops, we always want to start on a positive note. It's a really shitty start of a remote workshop if you spend it 5 to 10 minutes figuring out and being frustrated because that one guy cannot, silence himself, and that one person cannot join, on the third person cannot see the screen. It can quickly devolve into a nightmare and eat up time.
That's true. And also I think this, you're touching upon kind of the adjusting, because you go from the physical world to the online world, and a lot of innovation is about that. And one thing we know is it can't be kind of one-to-one, right? So maybe if you planned out a full day workshop, I don't know about you, a full day on video gets me completely exhausted. So maybe you need to kind of adjust this, plan more sessions, do it differently, do some homework, and really adjust how you perform, right?
But that is what we really wanted to cover, and I don't want to steal too much time, because as I said, there was a lot of questions coming in. So since I'm sharing the screen, Simen, if you could be reading out some popular questions, and we just take them until we run out of time.
Yeah, we picked out a few, and we'll cover more also in the next webinar. So the first question is, what prerequisites you need to take this course? Bruno?
Well, none. It would, if you're going, okay, it would be nice if you read English for the beginning. We plan to have built-in translations, but they will not be available on day one. You need to be able to read with comprehension, and you need to be ready and willing to actually learn. That's it. That's all you need. Everything else we'll take care of. So we'll walk through you. If you have absolutely zero knowledge, which I highly doubt, I mean, most of the people that have been coming to Playing Lean training are usually professionals with extensive experience, either in academia or in industry. So I really doubt it. So you shouldn't stress too much. This is beginner friendly, but I also believe it's expert friendly. I mean, I made sure that we have a lot of those nuggets that, you know, along the way we'll see, oh, this is useful. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Next question is when will it be available? And our plan is to make it available in the middle of May. So that's where we're aiming for our launch and where it should be available. Of course, it's not all complete yet. So there's like a small little star on this, but that's our intention anyway. The next question is how much does it cost and how long does it take? So we plan for it to cost 399 euro. And how long time does it take, Bruno?
Well, again, you're in charge. Just like you're in charge when we train you to be Playing Lean Facilitator, this, again, you're in charge. We have prepared everything that you can go and access it. So first you will have permanent access because we like to keep it simple. We are dumb fools, you know, recurring revenue and whatnot. We just throw it out through the window. So it's kind of, it's always there. It's always available. If you want to hammer it out all in a single day, all the power to you. If you want to pace it, you know, in the days, weeks, months, all the power to you. What the interactive part is there waiting for you to pick it up whenever you want. So it's kind of what you can watch on demand and interact with on demand. It follows exactly your timeline, but at one moment, what we will expect you is to submit your learning review, your learning paper, kind of showing and demonstrating real life experience, and then we will review it, give you real-time feedback to kind of help you grow and improve the practice. So that is the only thing that you will not be able to get in 5 minutes, but you know, we are community, from community to community, so I'm certain that that won't be a massive hassle.
Yeah, agree. The next question is what will be the license of the materials, the slides and the stickers and so forth? And Bruno has touched upon this a bit. We want you to be kind of freely available to use everything we produce, to adapt it, to use it in your own practice, to also use the marketing materials that you will get access to. So we plan for you to get access to all our illustrations. You can use them in your slides, in your own kind of posters and whatnot. I guess the only thing we don't want is for you to kind of republish the whole thing, right? So this will be a pretty permissive license for you to use.
Keeping it simple.
Keeping Kiss. It simple. Yes. That's no kissing these days. Any links with other models, Bruno?
Well, I touched upon it in adaptability. So we specifically talk about zooming in and zooming out. Basically, when it comes to business modeling, zooming in would be either running experiments on different assumptions. It would be going deeper into the customer segments, you know, jobs to be done, value proposition, canvas, customer personas, many options. Zooming out, well, that would be kind of more strategic analysis, Porter's 5 forces, what's happening in the market, because traditionally business modeling tools, like both of these canvases, they're very internally focused. They don't have external focus. So kind of that's the opportunity you can pursue. So that is, we left a lot of leads and trails how to connect this to other models, but they are not the focus of this training itself by design.
Exactly. I think the next question is a good follow-up. Does the training include a part on service design? And no, it does not, right? We want to kind of follow our own principles here and be really focused. And of course, we'll give you hints and clues on kind of if you want to go this route, where to kind of tack it on, and then what path to follow if you want to include more. But this is about business modeling.
Yeah. And just a side comment, it's also service design. There's a master's in service design. So I don't think we will go and produce a master's on any topic. We focus on highly practical, highly to the point, and efficient. So yes, I mean, I very much enjoyed my master's, but I probably won't repeat another one.
That's true. You will all be masters in our All right, and the final planned question was how many practical cases are included? We're including one case. It's the Airbnb case, and we think it's better to go kind of deeper in this, cover it both with the business model canvas and the lean canvas, prepare the stickers, and have all of that really kind of well laid out instead of going very broad in the beginning. And that being said, we can easily add on more kind of on demand. We can add on more cases with the stickers, and also I think that's a good option for the future. But for now, we start out with one case included.
What we focused is kind of explaining why does that specific exercise work. When you understand that, and when you go with us through that example, you can make an infinite number of same exercises. And kind of Simen said it, we picked Airbnb because most of Europe and most of Americas will recognize it. In Australia, it worked as well. I haven't done any business in Africa, so I'm assuming it's recognized there as well. But it's kind of, we pick the case that is recognized almost everywhere around the world. My generic recommendation is pick or create a case that's specific to your country. So kind of find some successful, either a company or some successful example of business model innovation, make your own exercise based on how we teach you and how we shared the exercise, because then you create even more value. You keep creating value infinitely. Kind of, you can just keep on churning out based on the principles that always works. For me, that's win-win-win. It's like the wet dream.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you can also use the whole host of illustrations that we have to produce your own stickers and produce more material. I think that's a very good option.
I cannot access here. I have trouble accessing the Q&A box.
Yeah. There's one Q&A box question. It's how do the economics work? I'm assuming this is about kind of the fee for the training, and that's not difficult at all. It's a one-time fee, and that's it. And you can use the material and access the training for as long as you want.
And in case it's the economics in the business model, well, the bottom two fields are profit formula. So it's you have revenue streams and cost structure, and it's
that was our profit formula, but
I don't know. We keep it simple. As I said before, I mean, this came from the community, and we wanted to keep that feeling and keep something very practical, because when we look, there's a lot of hustlers. There's a lot of bullshit peddled around. There's a lot of expensive stuff. There's a lot of protected stuff for no good reason. So this is something in the spirit that we like, as simple as that.
That's true. All right. I think that was it for the questions.
Okay, perfect. And we are very good with time, so I'm happy with that. Efficiency. Just like we did the course, we want the same. I mean, I heard about these webinars that go on purpose for like hours or something to wear people down and then pitch an offer. I've never been a part of that, but it sounds quite impressive what people come up with. It's like
just one more question, Bruno, just coming in right at the end, so I think we have time to cover.
Okay, hit us up.
So Chetan has asked, will the course be updated with new case studies in the future? Yes, as we make them, we will update them and you will have access to them. So even if you buy in kind of May 2020 and we update with a new case in June 2021, you can go back in and you will have access to it.
I think Playing Lean training is the best example. So kind of when we completely updated it for Playing Lean 2, everybody, all our facilitators got update for free, completely new course, completely new materials, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can call us dumb. we call ourselves a bit
Maybe.
generous and community oriented, however you want, but we keep it extremely simple. And also, we hope to inspire community to do the same. So for Playing Lean stuff, we had facilitators coming and volunteering, submitting their own stuff. So we had facilitator made apps, we had facilitator made posters, facilitator made spreadsheets for tracking learning, a lot of things. So we are hoping that, or we will try to inspire the same here, so that people can submit their own cases and say, well, this is free for everybody to use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as a business modeling facilitator, you will also kind of be part of the same community, have access to our Slack channel where all the facilitators are. And I think that's also a good value in this.
Perfect. So next webinar will focus very specifically, because that's the questions that we didn't go into great detail around the offer, the specific curriculum. So I told you now, or we told you now, what were the design principles? How did we build everything? What were we thinking about? What was our goal? What was our desired outcome when you finish this? Next, it will be very technical, very specific. Okay, this is actually the curriculum. This, this is what happens. This is what you can expect, and some launch bundles, because why not? We like that as well. It's those that are first usually deserve some sort of reward, so we will go through that as well next time.
Yeah.
Anything else, Simen?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay.
So I guess we'll see you all next Tuesday.
That would be amazing. Have a perfectly exciting day.
Yes. Stay healthy and see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.